Omolara, fondly called Omo by her friends, was the kind of girl Lagos either broke or made. At 25, she had seen more than most women twice her age. She had dreams, big, beautiful, intoxicating dreams. But dreams she would soon learn came with a cost. Born and raised in Ede, a quiet town in Osun State, Omolara had always been the pride of her family, smart, ambitious, and spirited. She was the first in her family to gain admission into a university. Her mother had ovulated in the village square the day her admission letter came. Her father had raised his frail hands in gratitude to the heavens. Omolara was going to study economics at the University of Ibadan, but fate, cruel and unrelenting, had other plans. Her father had a stroke in her second year. The man who once walked with a dignified limp now lay bedridden, his mouth sagging, his voice reduced to garbled murmurs. Her mother's akara business couldn't sustain the family. Her younger siblings, Tunde in SS3, and the twins, Taiwo and Koinde in primary school, needed everything from school fees to food. Omolara made the hardest decision of her life. She dropped out. She came to Lagos, like many others before her, with hope in one hand and desperation in the other. The city welcomed her, not with open arms, but with chaos, sweat, and relentless hustling. For months, she slept on the friend's floor in Mushin, hawked fruits in traffic during the day, and cried herself to sleep at night. Then she met BC, an old secondary school friend who worked at a high-end club in Victoria Island. BC looked good, well-fed, well-dressed, and well-paid. Or more, BC had said, "This hustle no be for everybody. Come work at my club. You are beautiful, and you sabi talk. Customers go fall for you very well." Omolara hesitated. She wasn't a runs girl. She just wanted to earn honestly, but the bills were piling up. Her mother called one day, crying that they were about to be kicked out of their one-room home. That night, Omolara accepted BC's offer. The club was a different world. Neon lights, loud music, rich men in kaftans and designer suits, women in 6-inch heels and skin-tight dresses. She was given a uniform, a short, glittery dress, and taught how to smile even when she was tired, how to flirt without crossing the line, and most importantly, how to earn tips without giving away her dignity. Omolara was a fast learner. Her natural charm, flawless ebony skin, and striking eyes made her a favorite. Men tipped her generously. She never went home with them, but she knew how to make them feel special for the night. In time, she moved from Mushin to a self-contained apartment in Yaba. She sent money home every week. Tunde stayed in school. The twins never lacked exercise books or pencils. But every night, after the last customer had stumbled out and the music had died down, Omolara would sit by her window, her face illuminated by the street lights outside, and whisper, "God, just make this worth it. Let this not be all there is. Otinsumi." Then came the night everything changed. It was a Friday. The club was packed. Omolara wore a royal blue dress that hugged her curves. Her hair was in soft waves, her lips glossed, her smile ready. She was attending to a table of loud, wealthy men, laughing, drinking, boasting, and then she saw him. He wasn't loud like the others. He didn't wave his money or shout orders. He sat back, observing, tall, broad-shouldered, caramel toned, with neatly trimmed beards and intelligent eyes. He looked expensive, but in a subtle, tasteful way. One of his friends called him Sidoff. When she brought his drink, he looked up and smiled. "What's your name?" "Omolara," she said, flashing her practiced smile. "Beautiful name for a beautiful woman." She chuckled. "You are not the first to say that tonight, but I mean it," he replied, holding her gaze. That night, as she was leaving the club, he was waiting outside. He stood beside a shiny black power bike. "Need a ride?" She laughed. "I've never been on one of those." "Well, there is a first time for everything." She hesitated, then got on. That ride changed her life. Over the next few weeks, they saw each other constantly. He took her to hidden restaurants, drove her around Lekki, told her about his travels, how he had lived in Rome, Barcelona, and Paris. He said he was into international business, dabbled in real estate, and was planning to settle down. Omolara was cautious at first. Lagos men were skilled at packaging lies, but Sidoff seemed different. He was attentive, never pushed for sex, always listened when she talked about her family. One day, he brought groceries worth thousands and followed her to Ede to meet her parents. Her mother couldn't stop singing his praises. "Ah, èyí wù mí Ọmọlára, ọkọ ló mú wálé yìí, inú mi dùn, kò yá ṣe gírí," her mother told her. "Ọmọlára, this one is husband material. See as he dey humble, see as he dey smile, not like those one wey you dey meet for club before." He won everyone over. Back in Lagos, Sidoff began planting dreams. "Let's leave this country, or more. I'll take you to Italy. You deserve more than this club life." She cried. "I left school for my family. I just want a better life. You will have it. Trust me." He started making plans, told her to resign. "No woman I love should serve drinks to strange men." She quit. Then came the request. Small ones. "Babe, I need to renew my passport. Then I have to pay shipping fees for a container." She dipped into her savings. He promised he had paid back once the money from abroad came. Ada, her best friend, was suspicious. "Omo, shine your eyes o. This Lagos man, eh?" But Omolara smiled. "Not Sidoff. He's different." Then she found out she was pregnant. She was scared, but when she told him, he pulled her into his arms. "A child, that's a blessing. We'll raise him together." He kissed her belly, made her feel safe. A week later, she woke up to find his number unreachable. She went to his apartment in Lekki, empty. Neighbors said he moved out the day before. The room he always kept locked was now open. Nothing but scattered boxes and a forgotten photo of him with a white woman and a baby. She ran to the bank. Her account balance was 1,400 naira. Omolara collapsed right there in the banking hall. She called Ada, sobbing. "It's gone. Everything gone." Ada came immediately, heard her while she cried. "We'll figure this out." But the worst was yet to come. Omolara lost her apartment. She had no job, no savings, and a child on the way. She went back to Ede, her head bowed in shame. Her mother wept when she saw her daughter's condition. "You were supposed to be our savior, not another mouth to feed." Omolara said nothing. She helped her mother fry akara at dawn, her belly growing with each passing week. The pregnancy was difficult. She fainted twice while carrying buckets of water. She developed high blood pressure, but she endured for the baby. One day, as she sat outside their house, staring into space, she told Ada over the phone, "Maybe this is the beginning of something beautiful. Maybe God will turn this pain into something good." Ada didn't respond. Her voice shook as she said, "Omo, I just saw Sidolf on Instagram. He's in Abuja with a new girl. He's pretending to be a pilot." Omolara closed her eyes. A single tear rolled down her cheek. She whispered, "He didn't even love me, not even a little." That night, as she lay in bed, Omolara felt a sharp pain shoot through her abdomen. She screamed. Her mother rushed in. "What is it?" Omolara clutched her stomach, eyes wide. "Mama, the baby, something is wrong." The wailing pierced the silence of the night. Omolara lay cold on the floor, drenched in sweat, clutching her swollen belly as pain seared through her like hot knives. Her mother, frantic and barefoot, ran to fetch help from the nearby maternity clinic. Sunday, now almost done with secondary school, held his sister's hand, his face pale with fear. "You will be okay, or more," he kept repeating, even as his voice trembled. The clinic was a two-room building run by Nurse Mojisola, a kind woman in her late 40s, with hands hardened by years of delivering babies in the most difficult conditions. She arrived minutes later, helped Omolara into a wheelbarrow padded with old clothes, and rushed her down the dusty road. There was no time. Inside the clinic, with only a thickening lantern and the hum of insects outside, Omolara screamed through the pain. The labor was complicated. Her blood pressure spiked. She was slipping in and out of consciousness. "Stay with me, Omolara," Nurse Moji barked, pressing down on her belly. After hours that felt like eternity, the cries of a newborn echoed into the early morning. But it was only one cry, not two. It was twins, Nurse Moji whispered, her hands bloody, her expression grave. One baby, tiny, frail, but breathing. The other, a little girl, never opened her eyes. Omolara stared at the ceiling, numb. "Let me see them," she whispered. They placed the living child, a boy, in her arms. His eyes were shut, lips trembling, his skin wrinkled like an old man's. She cradled him, kissed his forehead. "You will live," she whispered. "You must." She held the lifeless body of his sister next, wrapped in a white cloth. A part of her died right there. Back at home, the compound was silent. Neighbors whispered as Omolara returned days later, weak and gaunt. Her son, whom she named Iremide, "My joy has come," barely weighed enough to survive. Every cough, every fever sent her into panic. Weeks turned into months. Omolara sold akara beside her mother to afford baby food. She went hungry many nights just to keep Iremide fed. Her body thinned, her skin dulled, but she never stopped fighting. One morning, as she was washing clothes by the well, she overheard some women gossiping. "That's the club girl who got pregnant for one Lagos scammer. She should thank God she still has a child. Some lose both." Omolara said nothing. Shame was now her second skin. But something shifted in her the day she found Iremide struggling to breathe. She ran barefoot for over 2 kilometers to the general hospital, screaming for help. The doctors were overwhelmed, resources scarce. She waited for hours before they attended to her son. They inserted a tube, gave him oxygen, and saved his life. That day, she sat by his bed and said out loud, I will never be this helpless again. When she got home, she dusted off her old notebooks. Economics. She still had dreams, education, a better life. Iremide was her reason. She found a free adult learning center in the next town and started studying again. At night, after frying akara and bathing Iremide, she read by candlelight. She borrowed books, watched YouTube tutorials on a neighbor's phone, and started applying for remote jobs, data entry, virtual assistant, customer service. Most applications went unanswered, but she kept at it. Then came an email. Shortlisted for interview. Kindly join the Zoom link by 10 a.m. tomorrow. Omolara had never used Zoom before. She rushed to Ada, now working in a cyber cafe. Ada helped her prep, fixed her resume, coached her on what to say. The next morning, with Iremide on her lap and a scarf on her head, she joined the call. Her voice trembled, the lights flickered, but she answered every question dearly, confidently. A week later, another email. Congratulations, you've been selected. Training starts on Monday. Omolara screamed. Her mother thought something bad had happened. When she explained, her mother wept and hugged her tightly. God has remembered you, Omolara. The job paid little, 150,000 naira a month, but it was remote, flexible, and came with hope. She saved every penny. Iremide's health improved. He was crawling now, giggling at the sound of her voice. Ada visited one evening and saw Omolara typing furiously. Iremide strapped to her back. You've changed, she said, smiling. I had to, Omolara replied. No one is coming to save me. I have to save myself. But just as things began to look up, tragedy knocked again. Omolara returned home one night to find a small crowd outside their compound. Her heart froze. She rushed in. Her mother lay on the floor, unconscious. Her body limp. Stroke. The same cause that took her father. Omolara broke down. Not again. God, please, not again. At the hospital, the doctor said her mother needed constant care, medication, and physiotherapy. Her savings drained quickly. She took on extra freelance gigs, slept less, ate once a day. Her body started giving up, but she didn't stop. Until one day, her body collapsed, burnout. Ada came to the rescue again, convincing her to rest. You won't be able to take care of anyone if you kill yourself. Omolara agreed to slow down, just a little. She adjusted her schedule, found balance. She even joined an online support group for single mothers. There, she shared her story. People listened. Some cried. Others donated. One woman from the UK offered to sponsor Iremide's education. Another gifted her a used laptop. Omolara began to document her journey online, her pain, her wins, her lessons. Her story began to spread. One day, she received a message from a documentary filmmaker. Your strength moved me. I want to tell your story. She hesitated, but Iremide, now walking and calling Mama, looked at her with those big curious eyes, and she said yes. The documentary aired months later, titled Ashes of Hope. It trended for weeks. Donations poured in. People offered jobs, housing, and support. Sidolf, the man who vanished, even messaged her. I saw your story. I am sorry. She didn't reply. Instead, she looked at her son, kissed his forehead, and whispered, We are going to be okay. Because now, Omolara wasn't just a girl with broken dreams. She was a woman who rose from ashes, and she was just getting started. The morning after the documentary aired, Omolara woke up to hundreds of messages. Strangers from across the world had reached out, offering encouragements, sharing their own stories, asking how they could help. She sat at the edge of her mattress, eyes wide, hand over her mouth. For a long time, she didn't move. It all felt surreal. Mama, Iwemide called, tugging at her wrapper, grinning with a missing front tooth. She smiled. We are going to be fine, my love, I promise. Among the flood of emails was one from a tech startup in Nairobi. They had seen the documentary and were expanding into West Africa. We believe in your resilience and skills. Are you open to a community growth position? She read the message 3 times. A full-time job, a salary 3 times what she was earning, training, health insurance, a future. She said yes. The onboarding was intense, but Omolara sucked it all in, like dry earth welcoming the rain. She learned new tools, joined meetings with people from Kenya, Ghana, and even Germany. She spoke with a newfound confidence, no longer weighed down by shame or fear. With her first salary, she moved her family out of the crumbling compound to a small two-bedroom flat on the edge of town. It wasn't luxury, but it had running water, a steady power supply, and a balcony where Iremide could play. Her mother, though still recovering, smiled more often now. You've done well, Lara, she said. One afternoon, watching Iremide stack plastic blocks, your father would have been proud. Omolara just nodded, tears in her eyes. But her past wasn't done with her. One Saturday evening, as she prepared egusi soup, her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? She answered. Silence. Then, Omolara, it is me, Sidoff. She froze. I've changed. I'm no longer that foolish boy. I want to be in Iremide's life. Please. She felt her stomach turn. Rage, sadness, confusion. It all swirled inside her. But when Iremide burst into the kitchen with a toy airplane, his laughter loud and pure. You don't get to just walk in, she said coldly. You left. He doesn't even know your name. I know, and I regret every day, but I want to do right by him. Omolara didn't say yes or no. She ended the call and stood quietly for a while. Later that night, she called Ada. Do you think I'm wrong to keep him away? Ada was quiet. You are not wrong to protect your peace, but Iremide deserves the truth. One day, Omolara sighed. I will tell him when he's ready. Weeks passed. The startup promoted her to lead a new project aimed at empowering unprivileged women with digital skills. She designed the curriculum herself, drawing from her own journey. They called it From Ashes to Ascent. The pilot program launched in 3 Nigerian towns, offering training, mentorship, and stipends to 50 women. Omolara became the face. One of her students, a widow named Bola, wept after completing her first freelance job. I never believed someone like me could do this, she said. You can, Omolara smiled. We all can. At night, she sat at her desk, writing a book, part memoir, part guide for young women like her. The title, Frying Akara with One Hand, Building Dreams with the Other. Publishers reached out. TEDx invited her to speak. NGOs requested partnerships. But through it all, she remained grounded. She still bathed Iremide herself, still greeted her neighbors with humility, still prayed by her bedside every night. On Iremide's 5th birthday, she stood before a small group of family and friends, holding her son's hand as he blew out candles on a homemade cake. When they asked him what he wanted to be when he grew up, he said, strong, like my mama. Omolara laughed. tears glistering in her eyes. She had once been a static, a forgotten girl, lost in the chaos of poverty and poor choices. But now, she was a woman rewriting her story and helping others to do the same. The phoenix had risen, and her wings were only beginning to stretch. Omolara sat before a crowd of students at a community outreach event, her voice steady as she shared her story. There were no tears this time, only conviction. She wore a simple white blouse and jeans, but she stood taller now, stronger. And I learned that rock bottom can be a foundation, she said, finishing her speech. The audience erupted in applause. Afterward, a young girl approached her. Auntie Omolara, I want to be strong like you. She knelt, holding the girl's hand. You already are. Her life had changed in ways she never imagined. The donations helped her secure a small apartment in a safer neighborhood. Iremide now attended a private school, his laughter brighter, his cheeks fuller. Her mother, with consistent physiotherapy and care, had regained partial mobility and often smiled again. The documentary opened doors. She got offers to speak at conferences, mentor young girls, and consult for NGOs focusing on women's empowerment. She launched a blog, From Ashes to Flight, where she wrote weekly, honest reflections, practical tips, raw truths. But Omolara never let the applause distract her from the work. She returned to school through an online university scholarship, majoring in economics. She studied at night while freelancing during the day. Sleep was still a luxury, but this time it wasn't survival driving her, it was vision. Ada remained a rock, now a business partner too. Together, they launched a small virtual assistant agency, training other women, especially single mothers and dropouts, to earn online. They called it RiseUp Women. One day, as she reviewed CVs for their latest training batch, a name made her pause. Tunde Alaba, her brother. They hadn't spoken in over a year. After her pregnancy, he had grown distant, battling his own demons, resentment, confusion, shame. She picked up her phone and called him. Hello, Tunde, it is me. A long silence, then a sigh. I saw your documentary. I saw your name on an application. I I want to start over too. Omolara blinked back tears. Then let's do it together. Forgiveness didn't come easy, but healing demanded it. And Omolara had learned that healing wasn't a destination, it was a journey of becoming. Years passed. Her story became more than just survival, it became legacy. At 28, she stood at a podium again, this time receiving a national award for women in tech empowerment, with Iremide in the front row, grinning wide, and her mother in a wheelchair beside Ada. Omolara took the plaque. I accept this, not because I am extraordinary, but because I was ordinary and refused to stay broken. As cameras flashed and her name trended again, she looked up at the sky, whispering to the daughter she lost, her late father that died trying to provide for them, and the girl she used to be. Thank you for not giving up. Omolara had risen, and now she soared.
Ṣèpàdé orí ọkọ ni wọ́n, obìnrin tó níwà tó lẹ̀. jẹ́ o mọ́bìnrin tó gbẹ́.